Hey folks, since my last video I continued refactoring the TextMod into a centralized script and I completed the work for the endgame. At this point I think the mod is pretty much complete. Wanted to dig into the intro here and actually in general all the intro, ending, and lyric scripts. So I've updated the print script so that way based on the resource number it calls the appropriate it calls creates a new print script with the appropriate array and count. This is an array of data of all the resource numbers in their queues or times, and this is a count of how many entries for us to pull from the data. And that continues on for all three, lyrics, intro, and ending. So they're all defined up here in locals. I've grouped the variables here roughly based on where they were in the CD intro scripts. So Act 1 is when Graham and Cedric are in front of the castle, and Act 2 is after they take off on the way to Crispin's house. And then they're split further into scenes based on the underlying music resource or sound resource that we are scripting. So this has 5 entries, and the entries actually have 2 entries in the array for each resource. So this is similar to what I was showing before in the last video. We have the queue number and the resource number, and then I add in the comment here the text that's associated with it. I also had to accommodate a couple other things that I didn't think I had to accommodate before. One is clear screen. So I leveraged resource 0, which isn't actually assigned to anything, to clear the screen. It removes the dialogue, so there's nothing on the screen at that point. And then the other thing was these negative numbers. So as it turns out, when I first did this, I did this for Act 2, and I didn't need for any of this, I really didn't need to define any timers. I was able to use the cues for almost everything. But that did not hold out for all the other scenes. I had to, in some cases, rely on timers and not on the cues to trigger behavior, trigger a text box. And I think that's because the cues aren't exactly aligned to the sounds. They're really more aligned to where the animation is supposed to take place. So in a lot of cases, those do line up with sounds because when you see somebody talking, their mouth moves, and that was one of the animations that these get cued against. So I'm piggybacking on those in order to play or print the resource that's associated with what's being said. But there are some cases where that's not the case, and I had to use a timer. So I had to flag a way to indicate a timer versus a cue, and I ended up using negative numbers here. The alternative was for me to put like a third parameter to say, okay, is this going to be a cue or a timer? And I didn't want to have to go down that route. So I just, and I'm using cues in most cases, but timers are the exception more so than the rule. So I went down the path of just leveraging a negative number for a timer. And for the lyrics, which actually all timers, there are no cues in the that are associated with the lyric audio files. And then I did the same thing for the ending here. Was able to script this out. Required a lot of testing in order to make sure that things aligned and played out correctly. And fortunately, I was able to leverage right here in this KQ5 title. I could specify the script number that I want to go directly into. So I could, this right here, this is the first scene of the intro sequence. I could put an ending scene here as well and just go directly there. So that definitely saved me a lot of time for testing both the intro and ending. I didn't realize this in the beginning before I started this, and I'm glad I found this because I was worried I would have to play through the whole game in order to test all the ending scenarios, and I was worried if I had to fix a bug or make a change to the code that it wouldn't let me restore my save games. So this was really useful. There was one case where it wasn't quite right. If I go back to the TextMod here, this last script here for the final script when they're walking to the castle, as it turns out, there are cues here. There's but the cues don't align neatly with when the text is spoken, and that's because the characters aren't facing the camera at that point. They're facing towards the castle, so you don't see them talk, and there's movements. You see them move instead, and those cues are aligned with their movements, not with their speaking lines. There's also some, from within those scripts, there's some clear screens called, I think back from, they were probably from the original disk version when it printed out the text. And so the script, I can pull up here, this is CD ending 4, which aligns with that script there. And you can see there's these clear screens here towards the end. So this is a race condition for this yes let's. It was clearing like a second after it printed, or half a second after it printed, which really wasn't enough time to see the dialogue. So you'll see that I've already recorded the demo for the ending, and you'll see that in the demo. I've since adjusted this number so that way I think it is happening after the last clear screen, but of course, with race conditions, there's no guarantee. As an alternative, I can also go back into seeding ending and I can remove the clear screens, but I really am trying to minimize the number of script files that I'm patching. So, okay. I've also continued with refactoring the TextMod, as I mentioned earlier. So the methods that I originally had added to main that I was calling from within say, I had do audio with text. I've renamed that to say with text, and that is no longer here in main. I moved that over to TextMod, so here is say with text, and that does what do audio with text did before. All of the print for audio functions and print DC, things like that are all in here. I even moved from the talker, originally the logic here to calculate the X and Y position of the text box was here. I moved that to within talker with text, so this is only a one-line change here, and the majority of the logic now lives here within talker with text. I was not able to do the same thing for the print function and interface. There's a significant amount of logic that had to be in the function. If I wanted to do this, I would probably have to clone the entire function, which I really didn't want to do. So I just kind of left it here. Not a big deal. But this, we're cloning the args array. We handle in line here for the selectors, both the letter selector and the selector selector. But we do call parse selector, which is in the TextMod further down here. And a word on parse selector, as I went through all the intro stuff, one of the selectors that was used in the intro was this don't erase. As it turns out, this is actually not really needed. It doesn't really add any value. When I looked at what it did in the original disk script, it identified the flag and it added a flag on one. I think it set a flag somewhere in the function, but it didn't actually use it for anything later on down. As far as I could tell, I wasn't able to locate anything. So even not handling it, the intro works just fine. So I can actually just remove this logic altogether. It's just not needed. And it won't break anything because if it finds a selector that it can't handle, it just doesn't use that value. So I can actually compile that. I'm going to show here, this is the like calling this was like, if I do, I think it was for, this is script 673 for CD ending 4. So if I go to 673, and let's start this.
Have you previously played King's Quest V?
See, jumps straight to the final scene of the ending. So this was great for testing.
Well, there she is, our happy home, and we're all safe and sound once more. Let's go home, shall we?
Yeah, let's.
I think the yes, let's works because it's just after the clear screen. You can see it's a little bit delayed. I also thought it was funny, the 0 out of 260 possible points, because, hey, I didn't actually play the game. But yeah, that is pretty much it. So I'm pretty much done at this point. I did upload the latest version of the patch to the GitHub. There's a release 0.0.3 here. The next step for me is to do a full playthrough to test for any bugs or errors. Otherwise, my work is pretty much done. And yeah, that's it. If you like this content, please feel free to like and subscribe. No pressure. And stay tuned for the demo. Thanks.
Now why won't you work? Oh, Princess Cosima. Well, I did it. Mordak is dead.
Dead? Are you sure? Maybe he's only trying to trick you.
He's dead, all right. He turned himself into a fire, and I put him out with rainwater. He'll never bother anyone else ever again. But now I have a bigger problem. I don't know what to do about my family or my castle. I don't know how to turn them back to normal.
After all you've been through, there must be a way.
Crispin!
I have the solution to all your problems, Graham. While you and Cedric were gone, I did some asking around, and I found out that your son, Alexander, had the dubious distinction, if you may, of turning Mordak's brother, Manannan, into a cat some time back. Obviously, this deed angered Mordak, who could do nothing about it, since this particular spell could only be undone by the actual perpetrator, your son. It doesn't take a great genius to figure out that Mordak took your family and castle in revenge to try to persuade Alexander to restore Manannan back to his old self. I did discover, as now I see, that your castle and family were miniaturized and imprisoned inside a glass bottle. I did some research and found the spell for turning everything back to normal. Now watch. Hocus pocus, Aliotus!
Valanies! My children! My joy knows no limits!
Oh, Father, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, Princess Cosima, how could I forget you? Come over here. Let me introduce you to my family. This is my wife, Queen Valanice, my daughter, Princess Rosella, and my son, Prince Alexander, who started this whole mess. All of you, this is Princess Cosima from the land of the Green Isles. Without her, none of us would be standing here now. She bravely saved my life.
My lady, I am deeply in your debt, and I will make it up to you. With your permission, I'd like to travel to the land of the Green Isles to see you.
All right, now that we've done with all the formalities, let's get on with business, shall we? Higgledy, higgledy, pooh! Be assured that your castle is right back where it belongs, and the right size too. But now it's time that everyone return to their homes, with my help, of course. Alakazam, Alakazoo, Alakaz.
Wait! What about Cedric?
Where is Cedric?
Over there! Mordak may have killed him. Is there anything you can do about it?
Let me think. Ah, yes. I think I know. Abracabara? No, abracadora? Now what is that confounded word? Oh, yes! Abracadabra! Oh, Crispin! Cedric, it sure is good to see you again.
Oh, likewise, I'm sure.
All right, enough is enough. Let's get on with it. Okay, Cassima, let's send you home first. Wasn't that the land of the Green Isles?
Yes, that's right. I can't wait to see my parents again. Goodbye, Alexander. Perhaps we'll meet again.
You can be sure of that, milady.
Before you send us all home, Crispin, I just want to thank you for all your help. And you too, Cedric. I wouldn't be standing here with my family without you two. I'm deeply, deeply grateful.
All in a day's work, my boy. All in a day's work, right, Cedric?
Right, Crispin.
Okay, back home you go. Alakazam. Alakazoo. Alakazee.
Well, there she is, our happy home, and we're all safe and sound once more. Let's go home, shall we?
Yes, let's.